Okay, so
Um,
let's just start. And the first thing I always ask the guests is to introduce themselves. Tell the people who they are, what they do, and if you want to share, just let the people know what our connection basically is.
well, I'm Cranity or Roxy, whichever one is fine, and I'm just artist that's still studying in school, just from job to job, which is usually always pretty fun. And I'm just the artist for your background and currently doing your font, which is turning out to be a lot more fun than I expected.
I did the first time I asked you like, oh shit, is she going to even enjoy that? Because you typically draw very good looking characters. Like, is this something she will enjoy? Because I was thinking, well, she already drew my background and it looks amazing and everyone asked about it. She might as well just do the rest of my ideas. And I asked you and I said, yeah, sure. And I'm happy that you're happy.
Yeah, no worries. I have a background in graphic design, so I know how to do all of that.
Oh, that's good. I'm horrible. I'm good at research stuff. Recently
Yeah.
I saw an article. Basically, people arguing online, and one said, "Well, you see, the female Tory comic sold more." I'm like, "Yes, it did," but then I actually looked at the numbers, and it's like, yes, it's true. But if you correct for like for stuff like popularity and the industry size, and like, it just tones it down. Like, I wish it was true, but unfortunately, if you look at numbers, it's not. And so, like, I'm good at that
Yeah,
stuff. I'm good
unfortunately,
at looking statistics. Like, give me any statistics, and I can tell you if it's done correctly or not.
I'm like, since I'm usually more design, I'm not very like fine artsy. I'm just like, tell me what you need, and then I'll try to design it.
Yeah, I noticed that. You do sometimes you show like your concept art, and it's like full of like concept stuff, like how a character should be drawn, and the books. I really like your content generally. What you bring out, I'm like, this looks good. I wish I could draw.
Thank you. No, well, yeah, my major is illustration with concentration in concept art, but I
Hmm.
just barely started, so it's like I've only had like 3 classes so far.
Ah, okay. So being racking up student debt, I assume.
Actually, I don't. I go to school for free
Ah, that's very good. How comes?
too. Fortunately, I got a big scholarship,
Ah, okay.
a really, really big scholarship, and it covers most of my school. It doesn't cover a living, so that's all I pay for, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the reason I asked is because the very first guest was Budget Gamer, and uh, funny enough, he has a PhD in linguistics and covers indie games on the internet, which I find funny.
Mhm.
And he racked up like $150,000 student debt,
Oof.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
oof, should have gone to Europe. You pay nothing basically.
I know. I know. I think for my school for 4 years, it would have been $200,000
Oh,
for just tuition.
oof, that
I
hurts.
think it would have been. But yeah, I have friends who go like they're illustrators in the UK and they're going to school in the UK and they were like, oh, I only pay like what would be in USD like $9,000 a year, and I'm like,
Yeah,
that's nothing.
yeah, that's basically. Well, I paid a little bit less. I paid for my whole studies, 3,000.
Dang,
Yeah,
yeah, no, over here, both college and healthcare are the worst
yeah,
in terms of
I noticed that
cost.
it's like and it's so difficult for me to understand. I'm getting the more I read into stuff, and the more I research, like, oh, okay, it's like a cultural thing, and it basically evolved that way. But then I realized, well, they should know better, right? Like, they have people now that can look at other countries that see they're doing better and still like not implementing stuff. But then I look at my country and I'm like, yeah, for example, same sex rights, right? We have
Yeah,
been every year, every summer in Germany, we have the same discussion, and everyone, like, the population, like 99% of people say, just give them the damn fucking rights. And the
yeah,
politicians, oh no, but it's like slippery slope. If you allow that, then people are gonna marry animals, and we're like, no, that's not what is going to happen. And it's for me, it's difficult to understand. Even my own people, like, why is this happening? Just do the fucking damn thing. Nothing.
I know. It's all so weird. That's why like, oh, politics. younger, I was just like, I don't want to know anything about politics. I don't want to hear about politics, but it's really hard. Like anywhere, like around here, it's really hard to like avoid politics.
No, I'm sorry. I have to thank you for reminding me. I have to pull back. It reminds me of another episode in which I ranted about religion for 10 minutes. I don't want to get into that really. Let's talk about your métier basically. So artists, and before the podcast started recording, we talked about artists, stolen art. You know, that's just tell a few stories and what you can do against it, maybe like watermark and stuff like that.
Yeah, I always try to, like, sometimes I'll forget, because usually, like, I don't really think about it. I draw pretty fast, and then, like, all the things that I put out are, like, sketches usually, or something that I've been working on for a while. And so, but I usually always try to watermark it in a weird color that is really hard to take off. If someone was to take it off. But I see reposting all the time. I'll be scrolling through my Instagram feed, and then I'll see my own art, and then it'll like startle me, and then I see that it's another like poster. As long as they have, like, for me personally, because I know everyone's different, as long as they direct that my art was from me, then I'm okay with it. Like, I don't, like, if someone asks me and they're like, can I repost your art, I'll say no. But if they do it anyways, as long as it has my like name or somewhere, or like, hey, this was by this person and they direct it to me, I'm okay with it. Because I mean, it's a lot to, like, it's a lot of energy to spend trying to fight all these people who are reposting, because it's gonna keep happening.
Which I don't understand. Like, especially on Twitter, I'm like, you can just retweet the main image. You don't need to repost the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't see it a lot on Twitter. I see it on Instagram more because I mean, you can't retweet or whatever on Instagram.
Yeah.
So it makes, I guess, a little bit of sense. There's those like fan blogs that post like fan art of like certain fandoms, and so they just take everyone's art.
Oh, okay.
I see, for me, I did a Marvel comic when Infinity War came out like a year and a half ago. And it blew up, and I see it on Pinterest. I see it I see it on Instagram. I see it, especially on Instagram, it gets, the quality is so, from people just screenshotting and re-uploading that screenshot.
That sucks.
It keeps getting worse every single time. But I mean, it has my watermark on it, and people didn't know. They usually, like, I always, since I can see when people tag me on things on Instagram, I'll get a notification.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, this post belongs to Cranity. And so I get a lot of those, like, people who know my art. They'll like go and comment under like some posts that don't have my credit. Yes,
sometimes I see something like, oh, this is not the original person that is drawing it, and and the thing is, I just look for the original one, but I think most people just swipe and then go on. And that's, I think, the main problem. I do the same with articles, for example. If some article is reposted somewhere, I'm like, where's the original one? So I have to click through 10 links, and then finally I reach the original article. Then I have to read it, and then read the first source. I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. And I think most people don't do it. And it bothers me a little bit, because I sometimes I put so much time in in the research I do, and like, oh, I'm not seeing anybody caring about it, so I guess this is not something people actually care about.
I know, I see. I like I don't know, I was scrolling through Redbubble the other day trying to find some stickers, and then I found like some stickers. I was like, oh, these are cool stickers, let me see what the artist has, like other stuff, and it was this all stolen art, because it was like everything that they posted was a different art style, so I knew it wasn't theirs because it was just different every single one of them, and I was like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah, that really sucks. That really sucks. I think on YouTube it's less a problem, because most channels just do a vapid, not vaporware. Vaporware would be games. Vapor content, which is basically, if you don't get enough views on the first few hours, it's just gone. It just doesn't stay. It's not something that stays. I try to make something that stays that people can just go back to, but even I can try. I can succeed at that, because there's some topics that will be outdated at some point. I think art, especially the art you draw, it reminds me of a German book called Räuber Hotzenplotz, which is like a German fairy tale. It's about like a thief. It's a very known fairy tale, and
Yeah.
it has these sharp lines, and sometimes it's like it has this rough edges, and I really like that. And I see a lot of people like actually criticize, oh, this is not real art, or this looks bad. I'm like, what is art for you? Like, this is one of my main questions, because I see also sometimes artists discussing what is art for them, what is art for you, and what would you put your art?
See, for me, because I know like a lot of people use art as an emotional expression, and I was just talking about this with a friend not so long ago about how I personally don't use it as an emotional expression.
Mm-hmm.
For me, fashion is more of an emotional expression since you're like very explicitly expressing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But for me, I use art as a design more. I would say I'm a designer more than I'm an artist,
Mm-hmm.
or like I'm an artist, but I'm more of the design half than the people who are in the fine arts philosophical half. I would say, I mean, anything that you can create with your hands that could be art. Because I mean, there's people. I mean, I consider people who are like chefs or like pastry chefs. I think that's an art
Yeah,
in their creation, but it's just different.
I agree. I agree, because some pastry looks like, damn, nobody can do that. They have to really know what they're doing, especially because it's 3-dimensional. So you have to have
Exactly.
a
I have a lot of friends who are culinary chefs, and just I mean, when I see them cook, I'm like, I can't do that. I don't know what they're doing.
yeah,
Using these terms I don't know.
yeah. Some YouTube videos, I would say, also art, like, just because of their nature, how they're edited, how they filmed, and how they recorded. Most of them aren't. Mine definitely aren't. Mine are like informative stuff. The research part is
Yeah,
maybe,
like cinematography is an art. You know,
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
the art of editing. I mean, I've taken editing classes, and it's a process. Like the editing classes for like movies,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and what like I think they use what is it called Avid? It's called an editing software called Avid, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a process to learn.
Yeah, of course. Like, we had the whole scripting phase, and the whole getting like the scenes to flow into each other without rough or hard cards, or how to film a certain scene. I'm not an expert on that, but like, I've seen enough that I can distinguish when it's like, oh, this said
Yeah,
someone has put thought behind it, and I don't know, oh, someone has nobody thought about
yeah.
it.
So I'd say maybe just art is something that you just put thought and a lot of work behind because it takes a while to make.
Yeah, probably. It's not for me. Like, the problem with me is always, I want I want to like put it in like a category, and because I learned it basically in school, and
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes I feel uncomfortable with that, when it's very abstract, and like when it's very abstract art, and maybe someone put thought in it, but when you ask, um the artist doesn't have enough to say, or can really say what uh, what 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 they were thinking.
Yeah,
I noticed that with a lot of like, not pretentious, but like, when it's something that is very not ambiguous. When it's something very ambiguous, it can be interpreted in a million ways, and even though you can ask the artist directly, they say, "Oh, no, it's up to you to interpret." And like, yeah, like, I feel uncomfortable just interpreting it, because it's your art. You should know why you did it. That,
yeah. I
yeah,
understand what you mean. That's why I'm not much of a fan of abstract or like minimalist. A lot of the art movements in the early 1900s, which were really questioning everything at the time.
yeah,
I'm more of a very strict like pop art, like screen printing and all of those things that are like they're just posters. They're just there to look good. I'm not much of a like dig deep to find the second meaning of every
yeah.
paint stroke that there is. Although I mean, I can appreciate the thought or beauty behind the paintings that do have that.
For me, it's always 2 layers. Art should be there to entertain, be it in a happy way or in a sad way. But then, but you can choose to ignore the second layer. If it has a deeper meaning, fine. If it doesn't matter. Would be my position. If the art is only the second layer, then it's, for me, it's a little bit void. It's missing something. The entertainment factor, be it yet sad
Yeah.
or happy, it's just missing. And I feel uncomfortable. It happens to me with games, um, especially with AAA games. Uh, I play them, and then afterwards I feel void, because they are basically just there to not even entertain, just to check boxes. I'm like, oh. It looks good. It looks
Yeah,
good.
that's why like
Yeah, please.
I haven't played video games in a while because I haven't found anything that's like interested in me
Yeah.
story wise. Like I think the last game I played fully might have been either like Resident Evil 7 or BioShock Infinite.
Yeah.
Just because those universes are so intricate already,
Mm-hmm.
and they're both very visually pleasing, and
Oh
so
yes.
it has to have. I don't know. I'm very picky with the video games. I haven't played anything. I mean, besides like your usual like Mario Kart or whatever, those like party
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
But an actual story game, it's been a while since like
Over the years,
I've.
Yeah, no, please.
Oh no, I was just like it's been a while since I've played any of those.
Yeah, over the years, I noticed this movement towards going away from big title games to AAA studios that are coming up, just because I don't know, there's a real passion behind it. Someone put thought behind those games, and the big ones, they're losing this a little bit of the steam. They're bringing out unfinished games, and it's a whole it's a whole mess. And that's why like I can see now people are getting into indie games, and I basically just cover indie games right now. Before we started recording, I was editing on something called Songbird Symphony, which is like a mix of Bop It, Guitar Hero, a puzzle platformer, and a musical.
Alright.
Which sounds like, oh, it shouldn't work, right? Like but it does. Yeah, of course, there's a few things that you can criticize here and there, where it's like, oh, this is good. This is something new. It's basically something experimented with the formula. And I'm noticing that way more with indie games. And I noticed that with artists as well. Like the smaller, not smaller, but the less following the artist has, the more creativity can go into, because they don't have to adhere to anything. Just can do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's like I don't know. Have you seen any of the trailers for Death Stranding?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like Hideo Kojima already has a huge following, and then like this game makes absolutely no sense at all, but everyone wants to play it.
Ooh, I am happy that you agree with me because that's my point every time I talk about this game. People will get burned. People will get so burned with this game because they look at it, and they, because he has a following, the people see, oh, I don't understand anything. That's great. I'm like, no, that's typically a bad sign when you don't understand anything. Maybe he's a marketing genius and I'm misunderstanding the whole thing, but as I look at it, it's going to be just like all his other games, a gigantic mess, and people can interpret in whatever way they want. And I'm like, I'm not happy with that. Just make something that actually makes sense instead of just gigantic mess. And I don't know, the hype
I don't.
is not real for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like super hyped for it or anything. I'm excited to see. Like, I won't buy it myself, but I would like to see someone like watch someone do a playthrough.
Yeah.
I think it's because I mean, Metal Gear Solid still has like a huge fan base.
Yeah.
To this day, and I think the promise of the game that he was gonna make before he quit, I think Konami,
Yeah.
was like Silent Hills,
Exactly.
and I think like the possibility of him trying to bring what he was trying to do there to Death Stranding is also like a huge like pull factor for a lot of people.
For
Because I know when
sure.
I played like the Silent Hills PT, I was hooked. I was like, I cannot wait for this game to come out, and I was so sad to hear that they canceled it.
Yeah.
I think also the fact that I don't think he's collaborating with Guillermo del Toro on this one. I think he's just kind of like there, but
Yeah.
like it was said that he was collaborating with Guillermo del Toro for the Silent Hills one, and so I don't know, just because to me Guillermo del Toro is a huge inspiration so to a lot of people, and so the possibility of that within the game I think is also maybe something that clicks people's interest. I don't know, I guess it's just also since it's so he has like he's not a nobody, he's known, he's like you said, he has a fan base, and so it's like people will play this game, and it's going to be because they want to find out what it's about.
And they're not gonna get answers, because I'm sure he will just. It will be the same thing with what is his name? J.J. Abrams. His whole
Mm-hmm.
mystery box thing, and I hate it. I just hate it. I don't know if you saw the talk. Basically, did a TED talk.
I haven't.
He talked about stories has to have mystery box. I'm like, yeah, but where's the answer, bro? And you can see that with all his projects. All his projects are like the beginning and the middle are great, and the overarching story are great, but he never knows how to end a story. And like the end of the story is, the most important part of it. It's like drawing a picture and forgetting to color it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's why, like, I am intrigued by it overall in all its aspects, but I'm not like super hyped.
Yeah,
I want to see where it goes. Hopefully he'll, because I've never played any of the Metal Gear or like any of his video games, so I have no idea like what his style is or whatever.
Well, technically, like on the technical side, it's like a huge leaps every time. Like Metal Gear 2 and Metal Gear 3, they're like milestones in gaming because they actually improved on the whole technical side of it. Story wise, I think he did a lot of commentary on contemporary politics, but he could forget that because there was a lot of fun, a lot of entertainment behind it. And the last one was basically a gigantic leap, on the technical side, on gameplay side. On the story, it was like, yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing.
So it's like a sacrifice of one or the other.
Yeah, I think technical leaps, he always does the best. On the gameplay and story side, it's more the hype. The hype behind it is more interesting than the actual story if you look into it. And if someone explains to you, it's like, oh, this is really dumb. This doesn't make any sense, and you have to make huge leaps to actually understand it. So yeah, I never understood the hype. He's great. He's probably a great programmer, great designer, but I don't know if it's. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too negative towards it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always like, we'll see. That's why I'm like, I'm not really paying attention much to the video game scene.
Yeah, you shouldn't. To be fair, you shouldn't. It's just most of the times it's just disappointments, and when something good comes out, you're probably gonna know.
Yeah, the only thing that I've pre-ordered at any time recently was for Atomic Heart, which is by like a new.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you could say indie. I don't know what really like describes indie, but they're new. It's a Russian company.
Yeah.
They're making this game. It's like BioShock-esque horror, Cold War era. I think.
Yeah.
Alternate universe where it's like technically it looks amazing. I don't know much story wise what it has. The beta for it comes out this December. But it looks creepy and it looks like there's like a whole demo of like their new technology within it that allows mirrors to reflect the gameplay and the characters in real time, and it's like an amazing new advancement like graphics wise.
Yeah.
But for gameplay, I have yet to like really. I just understand it's like about a dude that's stuck in this weird lab facility and weird things are happening. That's really all I know about it.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I'm not sure. I didn't follow it. I just heard it, and there was a lot of YouTube advertisement at some point. So, and it looked interesting. So maybe it will be good. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cheap for a pre-order, and so that's why I got it. So I was like, I'm wanting to do a cool world.
Yeah.
Video game.
The funny thing is that there aren't many developers that copied the whole BioShock thing. Like
I know it makes me sad. It's just that's one of my favorite video games ever. Like I think about it all the time. It's just the world is so
intriguing.
Well, yeah, it's intriguing, well built. When I played the third one and it took us back into that first world, I was like hit with nostalgia. Yeah. Even though I'd probably played it not too long before.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm a sucker for like good like monster creature art and like concept. And it has a lot of that. And that's why it also really intrigues me.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm in real life, if there's a scary house or a scary alley or anything like that, I'm like, yeah, I go there, it's no problem. In video games, as soon as there's something creepy, I can't play it. Like,
see, Oh my god, I'm the exact opposite. I love horror games. It's mostly if I play anything nowadays that's not like big, it's like indie, those like crappy indie horror
Mm-hmm.
games. Um, if in real life, if I saw like a cat or like a dog in the street in the middle of the night, that'd probably freak me out. If I saw just a person at the end of like the sidewalk, that'd probably freak me out. But in
Yeah.
video games, I love horror.
Yeah, that's funny because I'm like in video games I'm like, oh shit, I have to get my blankie to calm myself down.
Mm-hmm.
But in real life I'm like, yeah, no problem. Maybe because I'm just was exposed to in real life exposed to so many creepy settings. I'm like, yeah, doesn't affect me. But in video games I just can
I
handle it.
feel that. I've also been just not too many, but my fair share of like creepy experiences, and that's what makes me wary. Like I'll do like horror games, but if it has anything to do with like ghosts and
Mm-hmm.
like spirits, then
Mm-hmm.
I'll start like to get a little nervous.
Okay, that's interesting. One thing that I noticed that I didn't know, you are from Mexico. Is this correct?
Yes,
So
yes, I am.
I'm actually from Brazil. If
Oh,
you
really?
believe it or not, yeah. I live in Germany, but I was born and raised there. Right now, living in Germany. So
Mm-hmm.
one thing I noticed was that you sometimes post stuff, and there's a lot of skulls, and
There
I
is.
yeah, and I do not know if that's like a cultural thing because I see that in movies. I'm like, is this actual culture or is this like just like movie? Like it's the same thing like when I watch something like, oh, this is how Americans behave, and you meet a real one, and like, no, it's not. So
Yeah,
just explain a little bit about skulls, maybe a little bit of Mexican culture and how it influences your own art.
of course. I would say my influence of like skulls and all that is like a 50-50 influence of both culture and then of my childhood. I was raised by a very punk aunt who was
Mm-hmm.
only a couple years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was very big into like that scene. And so when I was a kid, that's all I like would see because I would usually stay with her when I was in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And so she would listen to like metal and all that stuff, and that's what I would listen to. And so I was like, that's what I grew up around. And then in Mexico, skulls are very, very big. Because mostly because of Day of the Dead, since it's one of the biggest celebrations we have country like throughout the country wise because there's many cities and pueblos that celebrate their own holidays.
Mm-hmm.
But with skulls, I just feel like Mexicans are usually generally more, even at a young age, exposed to the concept of death
Mm-hmm.
than in other cultures, as I found through like conversations with my like friends. Um, since it's technically a celebration of death or
Yeah.
like of remembering families and all of that. But even then, like when it's not Day of the Dead, if you go around in the southern cities and states, there's like always bunches and bunch of like artisanal memorabilia of skulls,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be paper mache skulls, sugar skulls, or like paintings and the like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I actually love those. They're like, I find them very interesting, and they have something different, something that is not like typical you see every day. So for me, it's very interesting. Maybe when you live in Mexico, it's like, oh, it's boring, but for me, it's very
No, no,
interesting.
I love skulls. I collect them for like, or just like skull like candles, skull like
Yeah,
mini
yeah.
like crystal ones. I have a bunch. My friends always indulge me and buy them for me for like my birthday or something.
Yeah,
And so I
yeah.
love using them. And since like it was like a well, the Mexican culture was a big influence when I was a teen, and I would use it as inspiration a lot. And I was even considering going into like being a getting a degree in uh, Latin American art history,
Mm-hmm.
but there's not a lot of places that offer it. And then the school that I went to doesn't have anything
Okay.
um of the nature,
Yeah.
and so I didn't end up taking it. But in the future, it's something that maybe I'll take up depending on how this art thing goes.
So basically, you grew up on good music, which is punk.
Yeah, I did. I love punk music.
That's good to know because I don't know my Brazil religious culture. So instead of skulls,
Yeah.
we have a lot of crosses. Um,
Oh yeah.
so everything that is connected to the devil's music is strictly forbidden, but then you've missed all the good shit. And yeah, I don't know. After Germany, I got a lot of German punk. German punk can be entertaining, not all of that. Some doozies there. But then I listened to everything. I landed after everything I heard. I landed in French house, which is basically Daft Punk, and
Oh yeah, I love that.
and like this is like my go-to music. If someone asks what's your favorite music, Daft Punk. Like there's no bad stuff from them. There may be one here and there, but like everything they made are like you can listen to everything,
Yes.
and it's everything is good.
Agreeing. I have their whole entire discography. They're the reason I started drawing. They're the reason I like took French classes when I was a kid. Yeah, I loved Daft Punk. Ever since as far back as I can remember, the oldest T-shirt that I had is probably a Daft Punk T-shirt.
Yeah.
When I was in like middle school. No, I love them so much. I don't listen to them much these days. Or like they'll come up on like my Spotify.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like put shuffle. I don't really like look for music.
Yeah.
And whenever they come up, then I'm always like, ah, yes, Daft Punk.
And their influence on me too. You know, like not only my music taste, but like my whole internet persona is also based on this weird not quite human thing. And if you believe it or not, I actually have like a script written out for the character. Sometimes I drop off the character, especially on the podcast. But generally speaking, my internet persona surrounds around that my character Carl Lucas is not quite human, and sometimes he behaves in ways that people wouldn't expect. It's like, this is weird. Why does he words things like that, or he says things like that? It's like, I don't know. Maybe someone picked it up. But that's like a huge influence is Daft Punk, because they did like they began like as normal artists, but then they realized, well, we can do something more, and they transitioned into we are robots, and then this whole human thing is like, I find that very interesting. If you watch any documentary about them, it's like so interesting.
You know, since like I know that in the beginning they never really covered their faces until like a little, I guess, a little point after they realized they didn't want to be public.
Yeah.
But then like they really embraced the whole like human thing, because like they still keep it up. Not that I can say recently, because they haven't really done anything recently. But like in anything, they're just like, oh, but we're robots, we're not humans.
Yeah.
Like people like refer to them in any way.
Yeah. I think also they did it to keep. Maybe I'm a little bit on conspiracy here. They did it to keep Daft Punk alive, so everyone could pick up the mantle and continue their legacy.
That's true. I've never thought of it like that.
You don't like. I think they love electronic music so much because they also, if you know a little bit about the background, they actually invent stuff. You know, they were the first people to do stuff like that. They were the first electronic or French house musicians. So they try to invent and bring something new. And every time they bring something to the music world, it is new. It is something that you never heard before. And I think that's their difficulty right now. They want to bring something out, but it's been done before. So I don't think if they will ever bring. But if they bring something out, it will probably be blow our minds, because it will be something we never heard before.
No, that's why I'm sad that they haven't done anything in a couple, 7 years or so. Or, no, not 7 years, like something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But they, like anything, I'll be waiting for them at any point if they ever come up.
Yeah, and
I won't be like.
And like I said, if they die at some point, the legacy can continue, and I think that's their. I'm not fully. I don't believe it completely, but I think it's one of their reasons they did it, so that the legacy can keep going. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows?
I hope that one day they can like release an album. It's like Tool's releasing their album 15 years after their last.
Yeah.
So anything can happen.
And you can see Daft Punk everywhere. People don't know. Like, people hear something and they think, oh, this is something new or something like that. Like, harder, faster, better, stronger. That is something that like everybody knows. Everybody knows that piece. And nobody realizes, oh, that's Daft Punk. And
Yeah,
around
with like the Captain Marvel promo posters.
yes, all of that is like it's I don't know. Daft Punk is everywhere, but people don't notice it. Well, people that know about Daft Punk notice it, but it's basically everywhere. They basically are part of this neon verse or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And German
I agree.
music, well, Nena is a big influence. I really like her. She did the 99 uh, balloons
Love
song.
Balloons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I know the one. I know
yeah,
the one.
but she has really good music too. I have actually her on disc on vinyl because of course I have a vinyl recorder. Why shouldn't I have one? And I think the last one that is really big is of course the Freddie Mercury from Queens. And I think there will be no one that will ever reach his heights again. I think he's irreplaceable.
He is. I don't think anyone, I mean, of that genre will be able
Yep.
to like duplicate what he's done.
Yep.
Because it was a whole different time era of like music, of like or like just like how people heard music in general.
Yep. His
And then
style,
just
how he looks,
yeah,
his
style.
voice.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I also love Queen. I don't think anyone will ever like really. I don't think it will be done. I know people will do things and like new great artists will emerge, but
Yeah.
in the style that he did, I don't think it's like
Yep.
gonna happen anytime soon in art.
Who knows? I could be proven wrong. You know, Einstein got succeeded by Hawking's, and probably someone is going to succeed Hawking's. But it's like, well, we will see what the future brings.
Dude, there's not a lot. I feel like classic rock isn't like it's a. I mean, people listen to it and people are like, "Oh, I love classic rock," but I feel like it's not a thing that bands. It's not a genre that a lot of bands are in right now. Like there's metal. There's a lot of bands in metal. There's a lot of bands in like punk or post punk and all of that. But there's not a lot of bands. And like if you think classic rock, you're still gonna think like back. You're not gonna think of anyone right now.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. I think the main difficulty with punk right now is just like it came out of this movement of counterculture, and it's like it's still there's still a lot to fight against, but it's like it shifted, you know, the fight it shifted, the music stayed, but the fight shifted, and so a lot of people moved on, even though the music is still great. And and I think that's one of the main difficulties, people trying to find their audience. Yeah, for me, I left punk at some point and was like, I still like it, but it's just I just move on to electronica because I like that more. And then people say, oh, electronic music is not real music. I'm like, oh, fuck off, please. Let me.
Yeah, just about any sound. I mean, there's like noisecore. That's technically music.
Yeah. The Japanese are a lot in noisecore, and I find it very interesting. It's not something I can listen to very long, but I listen to rain sounds to relax. So I might be also weird. So
no worries. I mean, I technically listened to noisecore when I was like in high school and stuff like 9 Inch Nails. Some of their stuff is pretty noisecore, and it's just noise. It really is. And so I would listen to a lot of that.
Yeah.
But no, I've like calmed down. I don't really listen to like a lot of metal or rock, and I listen to like bedroom. I think what my friend described it as was bedroom pop, where it's like those like SoundCloud people.
Yeah.
More things to like relax to and not get like too worked up over. So when I'm drawing, it can be relaxed.
Yeah.
So it's like small name people that aren't really big yet or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just kind of just calm.
No, I think it. I don't know. Maybe I think there are even studies about that. That when you listen to calm stuff, that you automatically becomes calmer depending on the notes. So if you listen to something very energizing, it's probably if you want to do fitness or something like that. If you want to draw, you should listen to something more more soothing and calming.
Yeah, because I mean, when I was drawing in like high school or anything but childhood before, I was only listening to metal, probably.
Yeah, of course.
Metal was all metal and like industrial rock were all I listened to.
That's a good shit.
Now I'm just like, how did I do that all the time?
Yeah, I think your brain functions differently when you're younger, and maybe I'm too self-reflective and I think about myself too much. But you do notice a shift once you get older and older. It might be just bodily functions that change, but also just simply your mind starts to warp. You start to think differently. You start to realize stuff that you didn't know before, and you start to value stuff more differently. Just it just changes, and then automatically your music taste change, your art taste change, the content you watch change. So yeah, might be a fact of life.
It might be, honestly. Because now anytime I listen to it, I get tired. I can listen to it for a little bit and then I get tired.
Yep. This
gives me a headache.
Yeah, it's basically the same for me.
But I still like it. Like in my mind, like I'll like listen to it, like or I'll remember it in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, I love that song. Then I'll listen to it, then I'll be like, oh, yeah, too much for me right now.
Yeah. No, I have the same thing for me. I grew up on a lot of basically Brazilian country, we would call that. And I can't listen to it anymore. It's like for me, it's just too much. Like it's like basically it's like a lighter version, a pop version of American country, but it's always about love. There's nothing more than love. It's just there's no other topic they can sing about. And at some point, just get sick of it. It's like, can you sing about something else? Like, I heard this song for a millionth time or something like that. So yeah,
that's the same. Yeah, it's always generally also like, of like Mexican, like also what would be country music. It's like the same thing. It's always love or whatever. They never really like change what it's about.
Yeah, and there's also the German, which is called Schlager, which is basically the same. It's also country, more in the direction of not pop, like classical, I would say. And then it's always about love. I'm like, god damn it. Can you think about something else, please? Thank you very much. But I think it sells. A lot of people have struggles with finding someone that can live with them. You know, like finding love or finding a partner is very difficult. So it's something definitely people will listen to it. And
yeah, it's always like, I guess, the goal of a lot of people most of the time in like life.
Yeah. I struggled with that a while ago because getting older, so I live by myself now. I pay my own rent and my own taxes. Great. It's really good. Not. And it took me a while to realize, well, as long as I don't find really someone that really fits and is willing to put up with my quirks, I'm not gonna settle for anything because it's dumb. Like, I see a lot of marriages, like they know each other for, I don't know, 6 months, marry, and like, do we really know what you're doing there, buddy?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I've lived with several roommates in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And just like, I know, like, I understand, like, we always, like, at the end, I would be like, alright, now it's time to criticize each other. What did we do that really grated on us? And then we'd, like, be really brutally honest about each other. But it's always like that thing, like, you should never live with, like, your best friend, because then, like, you might be good friends with them outside of living with each other, but once you live with each other, then you might find out things that, like, you really don't like and that really irk you.
I agree.
On a regular basis.
I really, really do agree. Living with each other and just, knowing each other are two different separate things, and people can get can behave very differently once their masks fall off because they are just tired.
Yeah. It's just a matter of, like, you might be a clean person and they might not be a slob, and then you just clash real bad about things like chores, which is like general, and stuff like that.
I always try to be like, especially on this specific show, I always try to behave like I would behave in normal life. You wouldn't, like, I'm typically I'm a happy person, but I like to talk about everything. And when, like, this is my normal voice, like I speak like this all the time. It's very jarring for most people because it's sometimes monotone, and I've been trying to work on it, but it's like, I'm not gonna change. I'm gonna change my voice just to sound better.
That's the same. I have been told the exact same, that I have a pretty monotone voice. I don't really like. I never noticed. I always thought I was putting a bunch of emotion in my voice.
Mhm.
So when people were like, "Yeah, you're pretty monotone," and I'm like, "What do you mean I'm monotone?" I know I don't have a customer service voice when I worked in the customer service things. I sound the exact same, and so it kind of puts people off sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't mean it. I don't really realize it.
Yeah. I think if you put on a show, it gets difficult to then. I see that on a lot of other YouTubers. They put on a show, and then when they meet fans, it's difficult for them because they're not the same person. Like if you,
Yeah.
I don't know, if you take like one of the biggest YouTuber, right, PewDiePie, he puts on a show on his channel, which is fine. But when then people see him and they want to treat him like his character online, then it's difficult for them because it's not the PewDiePie they know. It's probably a normal guy. But,
they like people put like when I say celebs, just anyone of like any famous nature through any platform, on a high pedestal, and so they start like thinking of like this person that doesn't really exist and like idolizing them, and so when they actually meet them in real life, it's not the person who they've been like thinking about.
Yeah. One of the missions for the channel was basically trying to dispel this idea of the developers that they are so far away from the player. Every time you listen to one of the interviews, it's basically, oh, these are normal people. They just love making games. And if you intend to criticize them, you should try to do it in a constructive way, because that they have feelings too. And it's like if they're doing something, it's basically their baby. They're like when someone criticizes your art, for example, I assume if someone just says some stupid shit, also you're going to be offended, of course. If they're trying to be constructive, it's going to be way better. And always like I said, one of the missions for the channel was always to bring the people that are consuming the content sorry, German word, closer to the artist or developer, whatever, whoever is behind the project I'm working on.
Yeah, I understand. I completely understand the dumb comment things that you get on art versus like the actual good critiques that you can get.
Yeah.
Like I welcome any and every critique all the time. I ask friends, I go to teachers and all that stuff. I ask anyone if on social media, if you have like a good critique, I'll listen to it. But if it's like a dumb comment, then I just makes me like lose a couple years of my life. I never respond to them because I'm like,
that's a good
not
thing.
My energy to waste.
No, that's a good thing actually. Do not respond. Just don't think about it.
Yeah. But I don't know. Just like
what is one of the dumbest you ever heard? What was ever written to you?
Just recently they asked, because I usually don't get any, really. I don't like. I'm pretty like I put my art there.
Yeah.
I don't really like do anything else, so it's not like no drama or anything. But someone was like, "Can you stop drawing so and so character dark skinned? It really shows how you like think about dark skinned people." And I was like, first of all, I'm an indigenous person of color. I do not view dark skinned people like that. Most of my thesis for high school was arguing and like stepping up to the fact for indigenous Hispanics and all of that. So I'm like, first of all, no. The reason that I draw this person with such like it was just a slightly tanner skin.
Yeah.
Really, it's not even dark, just tan. Was because I just projected onto the character, and it's already like the original headcanon for the character before they adapted it to like screen was that he was dark skinned.
Yeah.
And so I've been drawing him how everyone else has been drawing him.
Yeah.
For the however 30 years that he's been a character.
Yeah. No, the funny thing is that as you're probably the only person that could dox me because you have my real photos and my real name as well. So I have to be careful around you. No, sorry. As you can see, I'm black as well, and I have my fair share of stupid stuff that happened to me in real life.
Oh yeah.
Stuff like my rent. Not my rent, my apartment that I'm renting right now. I don't sound different than a German on the telephone, I might
Mhm.
sound like every other German, probably better because I was raised by a very strict, conservative German family.
Mhm.
So I talked to the lady. She's a really old lady that has this building, and she's fine. Like, so I come to the appointment, and I have a long beard and long hair, and I am a little bit browner because it's the summer. And she looks at me, and she looks
Mhm.
at her husband, and she looks at me, and looks at her husband, and my dad was with me. He's like a how in American measurements it would be like 6 feet. He's
Mhm.
gigantic, and he's white and has blue ears and blonde hair. And she looks at me again and looks at her husband like, and it's and my dad. I didn't notice it. My dad said, "Well, they were talking about you about you." Like, really? I didn't notice it, but my dad, like, he noticed that they were
Yeah.
surprised. Like, and I thought because it happened for a really long time, nothing happened. Like in my job, nobody talked about it because I work for a multinational company. So I assumed in Germany it didn't exist, right? Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
exist anymore. But it does. And even though didn't notice it, my dad didn't notice it, and I almost didn't get the contract. But I gladfully, my dad was with me, and he is German as fuck, as you could say. And he has
Mhm.
also a really long German name, so I think that convinced them to let me rent his house. And like, great. If I didn't have a German dad, I would probably be fucked.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
not a
See,
good
that's
thing.
like. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I consider myself to be really lucky because I've never really experienced like such like a really severe case of like a racist interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I've had like more like what is it called um I don't know. It's more like
Annoyances.
day-to-day things or like little comments. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing. It's nothing that's ever been physical or confrontational.
Yeah.
Just like small things. And
Yeah.
then most of the time, also people usually think I'm Middle Eastern. Anyways, they never because they know I'm not white or American.
Yeah.
Like for school I had an Uber for like a year and a half
Yeah.
every day, so I'd see a bunch of people every day, and so they'd be like a lot of the top three questions. Or this was one of the top three questions that I got was always like, "What are you?" And I'm like 12. I would always just ask, "What do you think?" And they would think I'm Middle Eastern, but I've never had like a bad comment on
Yeah.
that.
No, the funny thing is that
Um,
depending on the length of my beard, I'm either a Turk, Egyptian, or an African.
yeah, people never know, and it's just like when I don't know. I guess it's a really weird thing to ask a person, like, "What are you?" And I'm like, "Well,
It's called there's actually a word for it in psychology. It's called identity denial.
mm-hmm,
So
interesting."
in Germany, something you have to assume is that someone is German. Doesn't matter
Mm-hmm,
if they have like a like some religious hairband or some other stuff, or have different skin color like me, because they speak German. They're probably born here. They're German. But what
mm-hmm.
people actually do is they go and say, "Where are you from?" Like you said, like, what are you?
Yeah.
And that
Mm-hmm,
is called identity denial, which is basically you identify as a German, like I do, but when people ask, where do you come from, I have to say, well, from Brazil. um, but I know most of the times people ask me, they don't mean it, that don't mean it in a harmful way. But if some random person asks you, they probably do mean in a harmful way. And that's called they are denying the identity for you to identify as part of this in group, be it American or German or Brazilian or whatever. And the actual word for that is called identity denial. It's something that exists. People deny the existence of such a thing, but it's well researched stuff. You can actually look it up. It's a psychological phenomenon. And it's basically you want to separate this person from you in group, and it's important for your own I don't know, self-reflection, or your own
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the vision of your group. And if someone that is in your in group that doesn't look like you, that is there's like a conflict there, and you want to solve that conflict, and that's why you ask the question, where are you from? Because you don't want to accept that this person is part of your in-group. It's very interesting. People are unaware of that. They do it automatically without any not being harmful. They don't want to be harmful, but like in the back of their minds, it's the thought
it's like
is
a
there.
subconscious thing.
Yes, exactly. It's very interesting. People should look into that. Yeah. It's like, and the when I see discourse online, I'm like, yeah, it's fine that you're using all those words, but they're actual research that you can actually look up, and it's fairly substantial. And on the internet, that's why I try to keep away from that. Whether you're all a bunch of you're all talking way too much and on the wrong way.
Yeah. It reminds me of an example of it. Was, I don't know, I always think of this because it comes up a lot on like social media or whatever.
Yeah.
Is in Parks and Rec, Aziz Ansari's character, he's asked like, "Where are you from?" And he's like, "Oh." At some point, he's like, "Oh, I'm from my mom." Like, it's like, "No, where's your mom from?" She's like, he's like, "Oh, like West Virginia or something." And so like, the people are trying to gauge like what his nationality is.
Yeah.
I guess like way back, but he's an American.
Yeah.
In the show, he's an American. So they don't like, they're trying to gauge what it is.
Yeah. And well, there's nothing wrong to be proud of your ancestors, but like, do you really need to know? Especially as an Uber driver, like, this is the first thing you want to ask. Don't you want to ask how well the person is going? How many drives they did? Like, it's just a weird. There's some questions we don't need to ask. I don't need, like, oh yeah, that was a funny one. This one streamer, she was asked on the show if she's straight, bi, or gay, and she basically has like a layout which there's like a news station, and she just says, "Oh, this is just in. It doesn't matter." I am here I am here to entertain you. If you can stay if you want. If you don't want to stay, you can go. I'm not gonna date you. I'm not interested in any of you. I'm here just to entertain you. And I found that very, very, very funny.
I'm always like, unless it's like in the dating scene, I don't think that's information for like everyone to know about myself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Or, like, my family. Like, I think it's like a private to me, because I know a lot of people. And, like, of course, like, props to those people, and, like, not to, like, put down their efforts or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of people come out, and it's, like, a huge thing. And, of course, it's because, you know, people have been oppressed. They want to, like, have the freedom to come out. But, like, for me, it's never been, like, a thing that I've wanted.
Yeah.
And it's always been, like, to me, it's just, like, a private thing.
It should. I mean,
it's still... discrimination happens all the time anyways, regardless of where we are right now.
Yep.
Because, I mean, it'll take time for any advancement to come up. And so, I mean, keeping it
private is a good thing.
Somewhat private helps you with, you know, in your jobs and whatever, to avoid certain types of discrimination.
In Germany, we have actually implemented that you don't have to put your... in Germany, we have a different thing. But you don't have to put what you are, and you don't have to put your picture on your CV. It's not even allowed to have one. We are actually right now trying to make laws that also take away the name from the CV, because it could be like used, like if someone is called Khalif Hajid, that was probably some asshole that is going to say, "Well, this is not something I know. Go away." So we're even talking about no photo, no name, and no whatever we want to classify as. Yeah.
It's smart.
It is. It's just... because there's some asshole, some that holds power, that is going to not compare people on merit, but on whatever they know best.
I know, but it kind of sucks that like there's just so many factors that someone could judge you on already, that there's just so much you have to omit anyways.
Yeah, it does. It does really. I don't know. I see myself, since I have a Brazilian pass because I can give it away, but I'm a German citizen. And I do actually not emphasize, but identify more as a German. So if someone asks, my first thing would be I'm German. But I see myself more as a metropolitan. So I don't really care if a war broke out tomorrow. I would fight for neither. You do understand what I mean? It's like, yeah, there's the I won't hold my nationality first. I think it's more important to be a person first. Hold everyone accountable to the same standard. Treat everybody equally. As a German, I think we have certain, like, I talk about with my German friends about it. As Germans, we have certain duties to the world, even that we have to fulfill. Things like, if we see something that is fucked up and reminds of our past, we have to talk about it, and we'll say, well, you're doing something wrong, buddies. You should change your behavior because we did the same thing and it was very bad. So I think as a German, we have duties like that. But other than that, it shouldn't really matter. I should be treated as Carl Lucas or Carlos. You know my real name, but like I should be just treated as this person and nothing more. And I think for you, I don't know how you position on it is, but I think it would agree to that probably.
Yeah, I was born in Mexico. I've lived in Mexico. Yeah. I came to America when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't consider myself an American. I'm still like a Mexican citizen. Yeah. Like if even both. Like if war broke out between Mexico and the United States, I would like not want to sign up for any either of them. Yeah. But if I was forced to, I'd probably be drafted anyways by like the Mexican government. Yeah. But I don't know. Like in nationalism wise, I'm still like consider myself. I mean, I guess it's easier for me to say since I was born there. Yeah. And lived there. But I know like of some friends who were like born outside. Like someone was born in England, but their parents are Mexican. Yeah. Or like one parent is Mexican and one parent was English, and then they moved to Mexico after like a couple years after, and then lived the rest of their lives there. Yeah. But they still consider themselves to be Mexican. Yes. I don't know. But I'm not old, but when I was younger, I thought the world could change, and with time I realized, well, nothing really changed. It's like things shifted a little bit here and there, and maybe this is like a bad outlook or a pessimistic outlook on the world. But the only thing you can do is try to change something. You can try to speak up. You can try to on a local level try to change things. One thing that I realized was that basically money moves everything, and we talk about it nonchalantly. That money doesn't buy everything. It actually does. It does buy a fairly good amount of stuff. Money does a lot in this world. Yep. Especially the capitalist world. Yep. And you can change basically every law if you have enough money. So yeah, I got with time I got pessimistic. Maybe that's part of becoming an adult, realizing that you hold no power, and the only thing you can do is trying to influence your surroundings to make everyone happier. A little bit. Yeah, I agree. It's hard to make huge change in the world, but like making small. You always hear stories about like the small changes. Yep. That's what really succeeds most of the time. Just like things that are in the local level. Yep. And doing something around their town. But like, yeah, I'm also like I've always been like a nihilist anyway. So I know, or like an optimistic nihilist. Oh yes, the same thing for here. Yeah, and so I've always been optimistic nihilist. So I'm always like, we don't know if things will actually get better, but I mean, might as well try to do it on a smaller level. Yeah. Instead of like, of course, like big level, but yeah. I also agree on like the money fact. We talked in like my anthropological essays that I had to do for school. There's a lot of talk of like we focus a lot of like classism and like the wealth gap and the wealth distribution and how like terrible it is. Yeah. But I mean, it's not like the governments aren't doing anything about it as much as we rally. You know, they're the 1%. They're the ones that are paying their ways out of escaping like all of these trials and stuff. And so it's like they're kind of hard to get. I don't want to be like bring the mood down. But basically, I don't know if there's the real case, but there are definitely cases similar to this. If someone has enough money,
they can in broad daylight shoot someone with all cameras pointed on them and a lot of how's it called, eye witnesses, and film, and we have the smoking gun and police is there in 5 minutes, they can buy that with their way out of court.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's like, if you,
that's just how it is.
yeah, and once you realize that, you're like, oh, okay, so it doesn't really make sense that we actually fight that. So great. On YouTube is the one of the main things that most people talk about it, and I had the experience that with my channel that I nuked music copyright. I did have music, but it was free, and they claimed it, and like, that they know they are doing something wrong. They know that they are claiming this and they are breaking the law. They breaking the law, but it doesn't cost them anything, and they have enough money to pay their way out. The one thing that works, funny enough, is just say, I'm gonna sue, and then they release it like in 5 minutes, because they know they're doing something wrong, and companies want to mitigate risk, so they release it because they don't, even though they, like, even if they knew they're going to win the lawsuit, they are not interested in having a lawsuit. So yeah, it is a spectacle, truly, and I think most of the times it's just the big companies may take advantage of the ignorance of the consumer or the content creator for that. I assume the more you grow, there will probably someday a company that just straight steals your art or your or your concept art and just uses it for their own purpose.
I know, like, at some point, if I ever pitch something, I'm sure it's probably gonna, like, I hear stories all the time about friends already in the industry about, like, pitching stories, and they're like, that sounds great, and then they don't get called, and they see that their art or like the idea that they had is used. People steal things all the time.
It's, I don't know. I try to, like, when I'm doing some video, for example, I try to go out of my way to watch someone and see if they already talked about it, so I don't just repeat the same thing. So I will cover games that nobody has talked about. I will, if someone has covered it, I will watch that video and see, okay, they didn't talk about it, so I can talk about it. Because even though I could say the same thing, sure, if I have the same criticism, I don't need to repeat what he said or she said, whatever. So yeah, I did go out of my way in not repeating the same stuff, and I see that with other YouTubers that are working in the same circle, they do repeat sometimes the same thing. I'm like, come on, dudes, you can do better. you can do a little bit better. A little bit of research wouldn't hurt anyone.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's like there's like that thing where it's like a lot of the things are already done before, so it's like people like grasping to find something new.
Yeah. But
when a new concept comes out, everyone wants to get at it.
Yeah, but then in the world of video games, there are 20 video games coming out every day on Steam. Every day. Like, so for a month it would be 600 games a month. Okay, so let's say half of them are bad and you can't even cover them because they're so really, really bad. You still have 300 left. And the only thing like those big YouTubers cover is basically AAA titles, like you said, like the good ones like BioShock and so on, but also just mediocre stuff like Anthem recently. I'm like, why is everyone covering that? It's just a gigantic piece of crap. It's basically shovelware, and people are covering it and like, just move on. Just cover something that is actually good.
I think it's also like that cheesy aspect that people like. A lot of humans like bad things.
Yeah, maybe.
Until they're good. Yeah. Or like just cult and make it culty.
Like, oh, sorry. Like The Room or something like that.
Yeah, like The Room. It's just like, it's so bad that somehow becomes good in a way.
I do not agree to this position towards art. I hold my art to, like, games and art to a certain standard. That I say, if this threshold is not upheld, I can't really enjoy it. I tried to watch The Room, and like, I had to shut it down.
Same. I couldn't get past like 20-30 minutes. I was like, what am I watching?
And like the people ironically or unironically enjoy it. And I'm like, oh, so this is like when people liked, what was the weird thing in the 80s that people liked? Those huge trousers that people liked. No, that they actually look cool. What was something? Yeah, it's probably something that people liked, but say, "Oh, this is great," but then when you realize, "Oh, this is actually pretty shit."
Yeah.
And the room is probably going to be the same. Like people now unironically enjoy it or ironically enjoy it, and in a few years down the line, everyone is going to forget about it. And
I think it's mostly also because like since the movie was coming out, it just got a lot of big hype.
Yeah,
back then.
probably. And then right now, I just hear it sometimes. When people talking about it's so bad, it's good.
Yeah.
And then I don't hear about it anymore. But everyone still talks about Space Odyssey. You know?
See, I like Space Odyssey on the basis that it gives me nostalgia because I've watched it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's a really long movie. I don't like watching it when I'm sitting. I'll put it on the background because it's like very quiet, anyways.
Yeah.
It's really pretty to look at, like the stills,
and
it's a really slow art piece more than it is like a movie to entertain.
I agree. The ideas they play around, the ideas they play around is interesting, and then like I hold the position like I do enjoy the art of Space Odyssey, and I think it's a very well made movie, even though this has this weird rough cut 3-part structure that don't flow don't flow in the typical movie sense, but flow thematically. And I really enjoy the robot Hal. I think that's probably the main thing people enjoy. Is this weird robot that's somehow more human than the other humans. And the rest is like, it's not a masterpiece. It's not something that people like. When I hear it's a masterpiece, like I wouldn't call it that. It's a really, really good movie, and it's a really, really good piece of art, and you can interpret in several different ways, but it's not a masterpiece. Definitely not.
I feel like if any of Stanley Kubrick's movies would be a masterpiece, would be like Barry Lyndon, like more because, or if it's like if you were to consider a masterpiece something that's just beautifully shot out in every single way, because it was meant to be like that. But I feel like it's a classic.
Yeah,
classified more as a classic.
And I think everyone should see it. Maybe in the right mood. You have to be in the right mood to watch that movie.
Yeah, in the right mood, or if you can stand to sit through a movie that long.
Yeah. One of the directors I enjoy watching, generally speaking, but he has make a lot of doozies lately. Is what was his name? From the Inception movie. Hans Zimmer.
No, not
Nolan. Something Nolan.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan.
Hans Zimmer is the musician. He's I would say he's like the modern Mozart almost.
Yeah, I like his movies. They're like they're highly twisting. Like they're full of twists all the time, and he knows like what he's doing. He's someone who like when you watch his movie, you know it's gonna be like well thought out.
Yeah. And one of the movies I really like and I think don't get enough love is Memento. It's it's something that like it has not. It's something that you can't even reproduce. Something that's probably not going to be reproduced because it works only one time. And if someone is trying to do the same concept again, it's going to be, I don't know, just a bad imitation, probably.
Yeah.
It is one and done. It's like the perfect shot.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's how I feel like. There's a lot of movies like it's like a one watch. Once you know the twist of it, like you can't watch that movie the same anymore.
Yeah.
You can't come with that concept the same anymore.
Yeah, Memento I could watch several times just because you pick up on things the second time you go around. What a movie that I just could watch once. I don't even know. Probably one of the how's it called? The guy that did Six Lives or Sixth Sense. Yes, I could watch this movie just once and like Sixth Sense is good. The rest of his cinematography is questionable. Let's say questionable.
Avatar's Last Airbender.
Oh yes. Well, let's not talk about that. Or if you want to, I have a lot of things to say about that movie.
I haven't watched it since I was a kid, so I really don't know. Like, I can't remember much about it.
Yeah.
I just know it was not good.
For me, it's very easy, and I don't know if someone already said that, but it's basically they should have moved on from the cartoon and just made a adult Avatar, because it's really really difficult to get child actors to act well. So just make a new story with older Avatar, and you would have a better job, or a better way of telling a story. It's that's basically my point. The same thing goes for the reverse goes for the Star Wars movies, the prequels. They should have made Anakin and whatever not Princess Leia, uh, Padme Amidala. They should have made them children, and then their dialogue makes sense because they are talking like children. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, I don't like the again, it's one of those like childhood nostalgia things that
Yeah.
like overrides every like quality.
Yeah.
And so like I'll watch them back again from time to time.
Yeah.
To remind me, but like
they're not good.
I like the last of that prequel series, the last one.
The last fight.
It's like finally, like it's Anakin.
Same for me. The last fight is like, I don't know. People like to criticize it looks too much like a dance, but like, well, I guess that's
majestic.
Yeah,
Jedi.
yeah. I guess that in universe it would make sense that they are like these hyper athletes that can barely do barely mistakes, and the only way to beat each other is basically have an environmental advantage because they're so good against each other.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And they know each other anyways.
Yeah.
Well enough.
Like even like in a like they don't want to kill each other. That's the point. Like even though the one guy turns evil, they don't actually want to kill each other. So it makes sense that the fight would go on for so long.
Yeah, and I like watching the fight. It's always fights are always interesting to watch if they're done like right. Like in Atomic Blonde, all the fights were brutal. They might have like. Because, I mean, it was a movie directed. It was the same guy who did John Wick. You know how, like, on John Wick movies, scenes are always cool. But he's a action choreographer, or, like, stunt choreographer. He's not an actual director. Well, he is a director, but, like, he began as a stunt choreographer. And so, like, his movies, story-wise, aren't the best, especially Atomic Blonde. John Wick are better.
Yeah.
Like, Atomic Blonde was just kind of like, you didn't really, like, the story was a little bit everywhere. But like the fight scenes were amazing.
Yeah. I think I think you don't even need to make a movie based on words. You could just make a movie based on fights, like a silent protagonist just beating people up, and telling stories just with the environment, like a poster here or a song there, or I don't know, a word or like a location here or something like. You don't need to even use words for movies. I don't know why people don't use it more. Like no dialogue.
I guess it's because they're too scared that it won't entertain, or people, the audience is such a piggy thing.
Yeah.
That it's a very scary thing to venture out.
Probably.
It's very big that it might flop because people like want words.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's people who appreciate it, but then I think there's a larger audience who are just like more in it for the quick story, quick action.
Yeah, I can see that point. Maybe I'm just like this pretentious critic that likes stuff that is, I don't know, experimental. But I just like when artists have a vision and then fulfill that vision in their own way. When it's like I stopped watching big blockbuster movies just because of that. I can't deal with them anymore. They're just so samey that
I grew up with like the Marvel more because like I grew up on the comics. I want to see like the characters, but like at this point I'm like tired, and I like now that like a lot of them are gone, I'm just like
Yeah.
not really hyped for the rest of them anymore.
I stopped watching them. I just stopped watching. Like, let me, because I have comic book here and I have an artist that I actually have could compare your art to. He's pretty good. Let me 1 second here. Okay, so what I had in front of me, I will probably show that on screen once this goes up. I have a book from Elektra, a comic book, and for me, this guy is just he doesn't draw comic books. Yeah, he makes art.
Yeah.
So the comic book is from Hayden Blackman, Alex Sanchez, and Michael Del Mundo. I assume the artist. Let's see. The artist is whom?
Yeah.
Okay. Alex Sanchez and Mike Del Mundo. They are probably a group of people that draw. Their art is just beautiful. You know, they have this. It's like it comes close to what you draw, but they are even more. They do play more with lines. I like the more edged stuff that you do, but they play more with like bleeding colors into each other and making stuff like colors become I don't know how we express that. Colors become fluent. They flow into each other more. And the second book I have here is from Black Widow. They're also very, very good. It's from Nathan Edmondson and Phil Noto. I assume the artist is, let me see. Yeah, the artist is Phil Noto. And I think his art is... Yep, his art... Yes. He is... I think his art is... can be hanged on a museum. Like every panel he draws is just like a piece of art on itself. The expressions on characters, the way he just bleeds color into each other, the way he uses lines to emphasize stuff, or he uses I don't know contrast, and it's so good. It's so good. And I think he's one of the best artists right now. I just can't find more of him. He just did the Black Widow run with 3 of them, and it ends on I think cliffhanger for Civil War. Yeah, I think it's a cliffhanger. But those artists, like I when I saw your art, I'm like, oh, this is like something. She should probably get on something like on a comic book. You know, she should probably draw a comic book.
Museums with my comic books. I still haven't published yet, but like I'm just really slow comic.
Yeah.
And I still have to work on my background.
Yeah.
Because my art is very static. It's a lot of portraits with really good faces, and it's like something that I do on my spare time. So there's a lot of portraits and not a lot of action.
Yeah.
But still, like in my years to come that I need to work on, I would love to do comics, or like at least even just do like a comic book cover.
Yeah, a cover would be also very, very great. I think your art is like something that sticks out. If someone saw that on a display, they would immediately jump to that because it's. I wouldn't say it's.
I've been told it's very.
Yeah, I'm difficult to use that word unique, but it is. Like I search for similar stuff, and there's one artist I know that comes close, but it's unique. I don't know. It's like a way of designing something that is different. That is something that jumps out at you. Maybe because of your designer background, it's good. Maybe because of that.
Do you mind? I want to know because I mean I don't mind. Like to me, I don't mind if people's art style are like mine, but if you never to it.
I have to look it up, but I have his handle to it. I can give it to you afterwards. And he did one piece that I just wanted on my wall, but he said, well, I don't sell it right now, and I didn't want to just steal it and print it, so well, kind of have to wait. He did the warrior princess Xena, and it looks so good. And one of my favorite characters is Xena. So yeah, and well, I also like the just Lucy Lawless in general. She's also a great actress. Well, at least my opinion. Um, and like, oh, this is the perfect culmination of things. Beautiful art, beautiful character. I just love it. Yeah, that's the only artist that comes close. But other than that, you're just like, never seen that the equal art. And everyone I meet, like everyone looks at my icon and like, oh, you have a great icon. Like, yes, here's Cranny. Please subscribe to her on Twitter.
Hopefully. It hasn't been so recent, or like a path and where I want to take more kind of style, just kind of like draw the way that I like to, and then like I will do what I was doing last year. Kind of find new quirks and ways to like line the color that I like.
Yeah.
Make it different than what I was doing before.
Yeah.
But kind of subconsciously.
I don't even know anymore, like, where I discovered your art. It's like, just a random, I think it's a random post. I was looking for something, and I just asked, do you do commissions? And like, yes. And I said, okay, great. Can you draw this? And he said, yes. And then I paid it, and you drew it. It's like, it was so simple. There wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, social media, as much as it sucks a lot of the time, is really the only platform for modern like illustrators.
Yeah.
To like have it without like a representative or being in like part of a studio.
Yeah.
To really get out and find.
Because imagine you have to have like an agent, you have to give it commission, not commission, but a part of the money, and he gets a job for you. You have to draw it, and you can't even agree on drawing it or not. Like it probably can, but it's like it's not gonna. Your customer that likes your art is not gonna go to you and find you. It's probably going to some random guy that wants something drawn. So I think social media helps artists to get their stuff out. Get the right people at the right time, and that are willing to pay. And that are willing to pay the price that the artist wants, and you get 100% of the cut. That's my point.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's why like it was kind of sad to see Tumblr just like Tumblr.
Yeah.
Had not a great tagging system, but had in compared like Twitter wasn't meant to be for art.
Yeah.
It didn't have a good tagging system.
What happened there actually? What happened on Tumblr? It's completely flew over my head. What happened there?
In Tumblr, it was just they were banning NSFW work.
And
because I don't know, there's something else going on, like government wide or something.
Okay.
With social media, that Tumblr couldn't keep NSFW work anymore. And when they did that, they released an algorithm that would try to identify NSFW work that was posted and flag it. And when it's flagged, people can, or it would be either taken down, except the algorithm was terrible. It flagged random things.
Okay.
And so, I mean, sometimes people post things but their art is just like regular art.
Yeah.
It'll flag it or take it down.
It's just sexy art.
Yeah, so it just became not very functional anymore. And plus, like, Tumblr's kind of been like going downhill anyways for years ever since it Yahoo.
Okay.
Anyways, so I mean, it's like no push perfect. It's like Instagram doesn't have a very good timing, so like things will disappear.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, I just wish there was a site that was just like better with like that was actually meant to be for art display.
Yeah, Pinterest, I guess, but that's not doesn't have a huge following. Yeah.
Instagram and Twitter aren't for art.
Yeah.
They compress the hell out of files, and so your art becomes gross looking. And then it's like Pillow Fort, like you said, it's small, hasn't gained traction yet. Hopefully, in the coming years, it'll get there.
I guess this is the perfect jumping off point for my last question for every guest I will have until the end of times. You're an artist, so I can call you an artist, right? Like, so what if for upcoming artists, what advice would you give them?
the advice that I always give is because I know it sucks because it's not what you want to hear. But it's like there's really no other way to go about it. So you just have to practice. You just have to go. You have to get out of your comfort zone and like practice things that you don't like. If you don't like drawing legs, go out and draw legs. Like, really is like there's no huge shortcuts to like getting there.
Mm-hmm.
You're just gonna have to like I've been drawing for like almost a decade. That's how I am.
Wow.
Where I am, drawing a lot. But don't be afraid to use references. All the time, a lot of artists are afraid to use references. Don't be afraid. Take pictures of yourselves doing poses, so it'll help you out. Trace over your poses if you want to like get a feel of how like the human body is supposed to like work, but never trace anyone else's art and claim it as yours. But I mean, other than that, it's really it. It's just a lot of practice.
Good. I can only agree to that because it's the same thing for us YouTube creators. It's the same thing. If you don't like editing, just start editing and practice it. Okay, this was a very great talk. Finally, people know who the artist is, and I can just redirect them to this podcast and to your Twitter. And Twitter is a good jumping off point for next thing. Just tag everything you want. Just everything you want to share. Just say it. I will link it in the description. Here you can, plug your stuff.
Do you want me to say where they can find me?
Well, you can say it. You can say it. I can just have it in the description. It doesn't matter. I will definitely put it everywhere so people can just directly jump into your where they can find you.
Okay. Well, I'm Cranity on Twitter, Cranity on Instagram, and that's really it.
Good. Good. Thank you for the entertaining talk. Finally, we get to talk longer than a few minutes, but I think we're very effective as an artist. I don't want to prolong this long enough, so thank you for coming on the show. Hopefully, we're going to continue working each other because I really enjoy your art. And
thank you so much.
No problem. And thank you again.
All right, have a good day. I'll catch you another day.
Okay, bye.
Bye.